good morning, and welcome to Dualitea Podcast. I'm your host, Ash, and I am here with our special guest, Rangal. Thank
Buenos
you
dias.
so much for being here and
Mhm.
for being you, man. Like, just
Yo.
off the rip, here we go.
What's up, y'all? How we doing?
You know,
Uh,
I feel like every single time we have an in-depth conversation, it's a podcast, and it's always like really cool. Here, let me help you.
Thank you. Oh, shit. Yo, don't force it, bro.
Oh shit, ain't that it?
Mhm.
Ain't that exactly what we try not to do, right? You
Right
know?
into it.
Man, yeah. That's like speaking on that to just like expand on that for a second. Like really trying not to force things, you know what I mean? Not force things closed, not force things open, right? The whole objective of this the pod and like this episode particularly with you is like, we were getting to chat for like a while, and we were discovering that we're at a similar crossroads with different things in our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And like with
Oh,
that
yeah.
being with that being the process is like looking at these different things where it's like you can have these conflicting emotions where it's like fuck you, like I love you, but like fuck you, and
Because we got that aggressive love, you know?
Absolutely. Like it's our heavy Mars placements in our chart. But also like being water signs, having Leo risings, like there's a lot of things,
Oh, man.
that curate this energy from
yeah,
us,
no.
this intensity. You
It's
either
not I love you. It's I fucking love you.
absolutely with my whole chest,
Yeah.
like down from my toe to my hair follicle.
Yo. Hair follicle.
It's like you could even say it calm, but I know when I say it to people, like the intensity that it impacts because it comes from such a deep layered place, you know?
Oh, man. Yeah.
So you just say it like nonchalantly, but it's still gonna hit like an explosion.
Man. Answer the phone. The first thing they say, I fucking love
Yeah.
you. This is crazy, man. Yo. So, what was it? I fucking, no.
Fuck you, love you.
Fuck you, love you.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to start? Fuck you or love you?
I mean, it always starts with love you, right?
Oh. Damn, that was deep. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. First glance, wow. So,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, wow. I ain't wake up. I woke up this morning. My allergies woke up first. And I woke up, took my alarm down. 5 a.m. hit, and I was like, let's do this. And then I looked at my bed, and I was like, not yet. So then I went back to bed, got up, and then my allergies woke up first. So there you go. Wake up before your allergies. But nah, man, when it comes to love you, like, I think sometimes, and this is something that I recently discovered, it's like attraction versus actual connection. Because I think first glance, attraction's easy to get real quick. You don't even have to think about it. Yo, if I like how you look, whatever this and that, my monkey brain's going off, let's go. You know what I'm saying? But things change when all of a sudden you really, when you really boil down and think about what you want and what you trying to build, that, like, the monkey can't do all that. You know what I'm saying? So it's different.
It is different because it's like it's not a natural flow after that point. Like if you're just having the, well, I feel like there's layers. There's lust where it's just like instant attraction, solely based on more so like a fleeting thing, whether that's like an appearance or like the way that person makes you feel in that moment, whatever the case is. And then there's like the attraction aspect where it's like you could be attracted to somebody, you can be attracted to their mind, you could be attracted to the perception you have of them.
Yeah, and the perception you might have of yourself with them.
Absolutely. And then, the reality sets in and like you realize like, oh, okay, like that might not be what I think it is. Then there's the connection where it's like you innately have a connection with someone, like you have an affinity with somebody. You can be attracted to them and be connected to them, but it's like it's a different feeling. It's just like, you know, you just innately see each other, you know, it doesn't matter when, what, like, you just feel like, I don't know, like, I feel like absence of words, it's just, it's a feeling.
I think I know what you mean. And it's like, because I was going to say this, like, I recently discovered a different side of me that is 100% okay. And look, everybody's different. I'm going through something different, but the willingness to just be like, I just want to be a good friend right now. You know what I'm saying? And that changes the dynamic completely, because it's like you're going from a place of like attraction to a place of like genuine support, being there for them as a person, being there for them as like, yeah.
Moralistically, rather than like fleeting on like a romanticized tip. Like that's a beautiful thing to do, to ground yourself, especially if you're whether you're in a relationship or not, you know, because you could always be attracted to people, and it's just like reminding yourself, like, how can I be a good friend? Like, I've done that a lot of times with a lot of different people, where I'm like, I can't let my romanticized brain, you know, paint this picture of just me and this person. Like, they're having their own experience. Like, I just want to support them.
Like, you don't even
being
know who
themselves.
they are.
Exactly.
Know who they
like
are. Every day they wake up and there's somebody different. You gotta accept that. You know, just how you have to accept yourself first. Like, it's
for the same thing. Waking up and like noticing the different aspects of yourself, and it's like, you know, I think it's funny because, you know, I started like, you know, I fixed the mic and you're like, no, don't force it, right? And it's like, I feel like the big thing about like fuck you, love you, right, is like not forcing it to be one or the other. Like, I feel like when you repress love, it does some really fucking weird shit.
Ooh, talk to me more about that. What do you mean?
I mean, like, when you don't allow yourself to love someone that you innately love, like, you be doing some weird shit, you know? Like, cause it's just, like, fear, you know? It's, like, and then fear manifests in this weird way. Like, it's, like, fear to love somebody, you know? So then it's, like, you're living in your head, not in your body.
Where does that even come from? Where does that fear come from?
It comes from different places for each person. Like, you know, it could be abandonment. It could be fear of how you're going to be perceived if you love this person out loud. Like, it could be
vulnerability too.
Fear of getting hurt. You know, it could be all of the above. You know, everyone has different reasons why they get afraid to love, you know. I just watched, like, within myself and then within so many other people, like, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Cool, let it out.
Some good tea.
There you go. You know, I've noticed, like, within myself and my own patterns, and like watching other people, like how it, like, yeah, like it destroys you from the inside out. It's like love and hate are like the opposite spectrums of each other, but really, like, hate is really hurt, right? So
I think it's also fear.
Yes,
it's love and fear.
absolutely.
Sure.
Which is the opposite of love. And like anything, like all of that is rooted in fear, and like, which is the opposite of love. So it's like when you, it's like what they say, when you hate, like it hurts you from the inside out. That's the same thing. If you're afraid to love, it hurts you from the inside out, because now, like, what are you feeding? You're feeding the fuck you. Yeah. You're feeding the villain narrative.
The shit that hurt in the past, you're feeding that. And then all of a sudden you can't do shit with that, because can't love nobody if you fear them. And
it's hard to even love yourself because you hate yourself for loving them.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I think, because here's where the good friend comes in, and this is my favorite part. Because I think, especially once you add romance to the, let me see, where is it? The camera's right here. All right. Especially when you add romance to the situation, man. So before we ever get to romance, something like a big rule that I made for myself is just like, yo, if I can't talk to you as a homie, if I can't be there for you as a dog, like, yo, I don't even want it, man. Because, like, then what am I surrounding myself around? Attraction? That's just going to limit my personality. That's just going to limit who I am. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I start pursuing these, you know, me personally, I love women. If I start approaching women as women, all of a sudden I'm going to be limiting myself to probably a good ass homie that could really be there for me. And I think we've all had this moment where we start talking to somebody and we get with them, and then all of a sudden we're like, damn, we should have stayed as friends.
That's
You
a
know what
big
I'm saying?
thing. That's a big thing that happens, and it's like because when you move too quickly in that impulse of just like sometimes you're supposed to see each other and it's supposed to be platonic and not romantic, but like like you said, like our monkey brains, like it's just like, oh, I like this person, I'm attracted, like sex, like, and then the brain just goes there, a lot of times, and it's just like because it's in a primal note, it's like there's two things happening. If it's like a hetero situation, there's like the innate primal aspect of like procreation,
Yeah.
and then there's like the aspect of regardless of any gender and any sexual preference, it's just a matter of like human connection. Everyone wants to
That's a big one.
hyper individual, like hyper individual, like hyper individual, like hyper independence is what I'm trying to say.
Ooh,
And
yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone's like, yo, I got me, I'll do this, da 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 da.
Hyper independence.
But you need connection.
Yeah, that'll put you somewhere, man.
You need connection
Oh
because
my
at the end of the
God.
day, like it's human nature. And then because I feel like sex has been so like stripped down from its own sanctity that people look at it like it's just the easiest way to connect to somebody. Meanwhile, it's like
That's just the easy way to destroy that whole situation. Like, where you going?
it's
You're gonna
intense.
destroy-
Like that's
yeah.
like we're going from 0 to 100, but it's like not only is it like okayed, but it's like glorified in all of the music that we listen to.
Yeah, no,
in
that's
all
scary
of the TV
now.
shows that we watch. Like it's like all of the different things that is around us. Like we might not personally, but like it's around us and it influences us, and it's been around us since we've been born. Before that, and like so it has an influence on us. Whether
Hold on. What is it? Fuck bitches, get money.
exactly,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, and
Like-
it's just like that mentality. And then also like now, like I feel like in the more like feminine centered culture, it's like there is also always the stigma of like find a rich man and like get his money and like
Like, where-
be the
where-
trophy wife
like
type
where?
shit.
Yeah, like where is that really coming from though?
I feel like it's coming back from being like the oppression. It's like too much of an extreme. It's like, okay, women weren't able to do anything. As far as they weren't allowed to work, we weren't allowed to do a lot of shit, right? And then like men had to innately be that part. And I feel like there was a resentment that was built simultaneously. There was also a survival that started getting implemented. And it's like, well, if I marry a rich man, then I can sustain, my kids can have a better life. I can have a better life because that was what was accessible to them. But like society is unlearning that as a whole.
I agree.
Because it's like, but the thing is fucking weird because
That's
it's
so
like,
weird.
that's happening, but then also it's picking up on the other end where it's like not only are women supposed to be like making money, but they're also supposed to have the kids and raise the kids and make the food and clean the house. And it's like
They're
we're
taking over the
shifting
entire household.
and
You know what I'm
working.
saying? Yeah. So it's like
wait,
it's
like,
so weird now. And there was this thing that I remember seeing, but it was like somehow, some way, the way the economy moves is how relationships move. Where back then, I think in the early 1900s, please don't quote me. I ain't look this up.
yeah.
But
Do your
basically
own
we went no. I draw pictures. I don't tell history. But yeah, no, what's it called? Like maybe I'll do both. Whatever. Yeah, like we went from like farms and like in farms, like you had the whole family was together. You had grandpa, you had granddaddy, you had dad, you had uncles and stuff like that. And then on the other spectrum, you had grandma, you had grandmommy, and then you had mom and sis and like brothers and all that. They were all in the
tribe,
same
you had
thing.
everybody. Mm-hmm.
Everybody was like growing and working together. Like it was in their best interest to work together. Now all of a sudden that hyper independency, you like. I genuinely have to go out of my way to find how to connect with people
Yeah.
that I love because we've just gotten so hyper independent on what we want and what we want to personally succeed in. Nothing wrong with that, but I just feel like it disconnects us to a certain
Absolutely.
degree
And
from
there's-
like family.
And there's absolutely, and there's like a spectrum of like why do I have to be concerned every time? It's like there's so much trauma. Like it's like anytime someone's being nice to me, like my eyebrow goes up because I'm like, oh, okay, like what do you want from me? You know what I'm saying?
Right?
Like, that's like the
why is that
first
even
reaction.
there? Why is that even there? That's
But
what I'm
innately,
saying.
it's needed to be, because a lot of times I didn't think like that, and like I would just get taken advantage of. So it's like, you know, especially like as a woman, just like navigating the outside world.
Especially you're an entrepreneur. You got time. Like you don't have time. You got to make sure you understand how that time is being
How
allocated.
it's being delegated. Like, what are we building? You know what I'm saying? Like, or what are we collectively destroying that needs to make space for us to build something new? You know, so it's like,
true.
But yeah, like you were saying, you know, like with society, you know, with these different things, like in some aspects, it's, you know, like it's cool that, you know, as women, we're coming across being able to like check off new boxes and do different things, but simultaneously, like, if everything else isn't shifting and we're just the one shifting, like, it's not working great, you know, because I'm constantly seeing that aspect. And like this kind of ties back to the topic of like, I feel like that love turns into hate in a lot of relationships, because of like whether, you know, the partner is male or just like a masculine human, like that energy of the masculine isn't, it's actually being masculine. It's not supporting the process. You know what I mean? And then that resentment starts building. It starts becoming fuck you. And it's like, fuck you because I'm not heard. Like, fuck you because I'm not seen. Like, fuck you because I'm not supported.
So I want to give a shout out to my boy. My boy, you know who you are. And we were talking about this situation where it was like, the thought process, the like, I think we could definitely bring this up, like the difference in thought process between masculine and feminine, and how that thought process, I think overall, if it's not respected in a relationship, it's not gonna work.
Because you need to understand like your role, regardless of your gender. You need to understand who's giving and who's taking in that moment, and be okay with the give and the take, with the receiving and the giving.
It's a responsibility at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It's like, it's how you, it's like, it's managing your relationship properly, right? Because like you want to make sure things are managed, you know, and it's like, if that's not in management, then it's just, then people, when you don't know your role, it's like, hey, I'm gonna hire you for a job, but I'm not gonna tell you what the job is. Like, you know what I mean? It's
what
like,
am I doing? What am I doing?
You're
Why
fucking
am I
lost.
Yeah.
You're not gonna feel valuable until I'm like, hey, you're good at drawing. Can you do me a favor? I would like some abstract this, some that, you know, whatever it is.
I know,
and
and
like, I want to put that there. This
I could
is
pull
where
through,
I want to see
do
it.
exactly what I do, and then that's it.
Because you know it's expected of you.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's why it's important to go into relationships and just like, whether romantic, platonic, you know, familial, business, whatever it is, like to go into it and be like, these are my expectations for you. What are your expectations for me?
And I think
so
it's
you can
when
like
you
find that middle ground.
I feel like it's definitely when you break that, oh, you just my homie type situation. I feel like it should always definitely be that, where it's like, yo, you will always be like, yo, if I'm dating you, you are definitely my best friend. That's undoubted. Yeah. I am not growing shit without like
that being the foundation. Absolutely, as it should be.
Absolutely.
As it should be.
So it's like, once you get to that relationship standpoint where you are getting that vulnerable with somebody, I think especially as men, it's very difficult for us to get vulnerable, which I think can cause a lot of chaos, especially in any relationship that's not used to getting that vulnerable. Men, I think we definitely have to be not only like support each other in that, but I do find myself having to support my friends in any venture that they have emotionally as well. Because I can definitely say I'm confidently tapped into my feminine, because I grew up around women, and I know I'm not the only guy in society that's that way. So it's like, with that knowledge, I'm able to help other extremely masculine men, and then we also exchange energy when I'm able to nurture my masculine. You know, the go gotta do whatever he wants type situation.
Yeah.
And this is something that we recently discussed, and I recently have in my mind, is like, the way that guys resolve situations, we need women. We need that feminine energy to help us out, because we solve problems. And when we're down that rabbit hole of solving problems that ain't got to get solved, or sometimes we just reach dead ends in our thought processes, we can get extremely emotional and not understand how to communicate that. So a lot of times we like setting that playing field for us to that area. It's like setting the place, you know, like, oh, I'm about to get very vulnerable right now with you. I'm about to get like, you know. that helps. That helps with that vulnerability, and really, uh, it helps us with our emotions, because I think that's something that we're not always used to. And a lot of the stuff that I get butthurt about sometimes, if I'm with my partner at that time and I tell them, "Leo, this hurt me," they start laughing. Yes, it hurts, but I understand why. Like, what makes us emotional is nothing comparison to what makes them emotional. So I'm just like, all right, stop laughing. This really hurt my feelings. Like, so it's a different. It's so different. It's so different.
It is so different. I really appreciate your perspective. I think that, I could only understand so much, like, as a woman, despite, like, having the polarities within myself and, like, moving through life in a certain way and being around a lot of men, like, I don't have y'all brain, like, and like, we were talking about before, I was telling you and Kenny about.
Yeah, he's like, what? This makes no sense.
So I'm going to tell y'all real quick. I'll tell y'all a little study I did. I was just noticing throughout the years that men were not taking the tea bag out. Every time I served a man tea, like whether in my house or like out or like wherever, like I would give the tea, and then I would just notice that it would always end up back in the sink, like with the tea bag in it. And I like was really like having a hard time with that, because I'm like, I just kept looking at the sink. I'm like, who the fuck left the tea bag in? And then I always pinned in. It was always a man, and I was just like, yeah, what the fuck, like, And then after a certain point, I started like just actively like watching people and watching men finish their tea, and then take the teacup and put it in the sink with the tea bag in it. And I was just like, yo, like, just the way our brain works is so different, because it's like, it's so simple, like as a woman, as a human. I thought it was a human thing, but it's clearly like more of a feminine thing, It's just like,
it's a different size too. Like our brain, like it's actually a physical different size, which is beautiful.
And we have different hormones. We have so many different things that make us, and like, and it doesn't mean that anyone is greater or less than. It's just we're programmed differently. So like when I came up to that conclusion, like, yo, like, I'm just gonna let them know, so maybe they can make that decision, because I was watching it not be a thought, as opposed to like. Like me, I'm like, okay, I can't wash logically a tea bag, so I'm going to, throw it out.
I can explain this.
Please do. Please
do.
So
this is at least me. If you guys, if it's different for you, go figure that out. But for me, the way I do it, right, I try to put it away, to put it in the trash. But if I don't and I'm in a rush, I'll figure it out then. That's just my thought process. I'll figure it out then. Yeah. It's no work taking it out then. And then if I'm doing the dishes, I'll do the whole thing then. But like at this moment, the dishwasher.
It's not a priority.
The dishwasher will be a dishwasher.
I think that's what the thing is like the consideration that women have naturally, just because like being childbearing humans, is like we have to have a certain amount of consideration naturally instilled in us, so that we can naturally want to not only form the human, so but to create and sustain it.
You gotta watch out for different shit. You gotta actually like, yo, like, like, oh my God, there's something. Oh, it's a goal. So anytime I'm hanging around my nephews or whatever, we usually like, what's it called, like wrestle, do whatever, like just throwing them, pillow fight and all that. And there's like certain little things, like my sister, she always yells at us because we always get too loud or whatever. But I'm like, it's cool.
Y'all being boys.
But it really is the small things that you guys pay attention to that we just don't.
Just not even in the realm.
No, you can do that. You can take that.
But that's the thing. Instead of looking at that as like, I feel like I had to shift, like especially within being in a relationship for a while with a woman, actually made me appreciate just like the things that normally annoyed me about men.
Good for you.
Like, it's like, my partner is very masculine woman, and like I got to also see the things that just annoy me about just masculine energy. Oh, this thing that I love, and then that same thing with feminine, masculine, but like something I noticed in that time, because like, I don't know how to say it other than just like whatever. I'll just say how I'm thinking it. Because like a man wasn't like my problem. You know what I mean? Like as my partner in that way. I was less reactive to like the silly man shit. Like,
and was it still there?
What do you mean?
That silly man shit, was it still
Not
there?
as much.
Not
Not as much because innately she's still born a woman, so like she like was still more considerate.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
So we still thought similarly, although there was the polarity of like her having more like masculinity. And you know, it's what I noticed is just like I would look at men and I was like, y'all are just so different.
Yeah.
You know? And
some people
just,
call us stupid. Look, listen.
I would say silly. I wouldn't say stupid.
That's what I'm
I just
saying. They
think
get heavy
just
with that word,
different.
and it
Yeah.
offends us deep down. And we're like, come
Yeah.
on, we just doing shit a little different.
Just different. And
Right,
I think
right.
that's like, but it took me to like not be involved with y'all to like, to actually see it and be like, oh, like, oh, Dito. You know what I mean?
bro,
Rather
there
than
are-
being like, what the fuck?
Look,
Like,
I'm gonna let you know this right now. There is a slew. What's it called? There's a caravan of videos dedicated to you guys on the internet. On the internet, trying to figure out women. There's a slew of videos just because we just don't get you guys.
I mean, the same thing with when it comes to men. And I think that
Really?
it's
Wow,
just
yeah.
interesting, like how, you know, it's like, I feel like with my perception of like male or masculine energy is just like, it's so like point A to B, right? It's a straight line, you know? And like feminine is like a squiggly line, you know? It's like a dance. It's like, man's just like tunnel vision. Like, I need to open this door. And like feminine is like, look at all the art in this room on the way to the door, you know? And it's like, it's
That's wonderful though. We would love that.
and the feminine aspect, well, that's the thing that's beautiful about humans innately is because we can tap into both. I think that when it comes to the mental chemistry and like the science behind it, hormones and shit like that, like that it just activates certain parts more. Like, but like at the same token, I remember my brother-in-law, I talked about this, I'm pretty sure on the podcast, like my brother-in-law came to like help me put up a shelf in the spa room.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just watched him like just fucking look at the wall and just like whip a fucking tape measure out and be like, like mad fast. And like, listen, like I'm handy. Like I actually build shit all the time. But I was like, I'm not fucking with these beams. Like you got that, bro. I'm like, listen, I'm short too. Like I needed a high shot. I'm like, I need the help. I know I could trust him. He knows. I think like when it comes to things, like I'll be honest with you. Like I could build shit, boom. But like when it comes to putting things on walls, either I just rogue. I'm just rogue. Like I'll just take a nail, boom, like pray for the best, not a deep one, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Not a deep one.
I just pray for the fucking best. I'm not gonna lie. Like I could be like very like in my feminine bag like that, or I could be so fucking tedious that I'm like, all right, here's the stud finder, here's this, all right, and it takes me too long. So and I'm like, I don't fucking patience for this. I'd rather ask someone who it comes natural to.
Word. I recently started hanging up artwork in my room. So
you know all about it right now.
Listen, my mother has done this for the most part. Like single mother, she's had to take over both roles. God bless her. And it's like when she builds stuff, ain't nothing getting in her way, cause she could see, like she has both. She could see it differently and get it done, no problem.
Yeah.
The way I see this woman put stuff on the wall, God, yo, it's insane. So when I decided to take it upon myself, I was little at the time. When I decided to take it upon myself to put a good nail on the wall, I was like, yo, let me go grab a nail. Where's the hammer? Walk my little ass to my room, look at the wall, measure it out, right? Put my little finger there. Put my little finger there. And then, obviously it's a hammer. You don't really know like how heavy you should do it. At first, you just like, boom, and you're like, oh, that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. And then, scaredy cat or whatever, you don't want to hit it, like, you don't want to go too hard where it's like, damn, then the nail flipped and then my whole thumb is like blue. So I had to realize like, yo, this is the most masculine thing I have ever taken upon myself to do is putting a nail in the wall. So I was like, let's go. So then I was like, all right. Aim, hoop, bam.
It was the change in voice for me.
No, because you have like genuinely, it's a whole different side.
Different demeanor. You have to activate that part. Yeah.
Right. And yo, like, that's crazy though. Like, I gotta be like, yo, let's go, bam, and then it gets done. Like, yo. So now I'm thinking like, yo, that's how my mom had to actually think, where she was like, yo,
shift.
Yeah, shift, bam.
Yep. And that's the thing is like so many people shift, but we don't know how to shift back. And I think that that's a lack of support, knowledge, and like grounding in the aspect of like who we are and what our roles are and how important that is. It's like, yo, like you might not put the fucking tea bag in the garbage, but like, you know, or have that consideration for that. But like, you can understand the fabric of a world that I can't even perceive naturally. You know what I mean? You can look at that wall and you can understand that it's made from sheetrock and the way it's composed and like where the beams and how it's constructed, like you can innately look at it and almost have X-ray vision. And I look at that and I'm like, I just want this picture there. You know what I mean? So
and
like,
you can genuinely tell me, yo, watch what you say around this child because this child is listening to you.
yes,
I don't like you know, like I genuinely have to be a little bit less reckless with my words around children because it's like whatever.
they're sponges. They take on everything.
What is it? We're in our 20s, right? Whatever we experience is like 10 times 10 for anybody 10 years younger than us. So it's like they automatically just experience, like if you say, oh, those shoes don't look that great on you, they're gonna be like, oh no.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's gonna, they can think about it forever. And it's like, yeah, that aspect of like the consideration, like the mother's gonna innately be like, yo, like, or like,
like watch what you say around them.
But that's instead of making, I feel like this is so important. Like instead of making whoever, like we're like either correcting or supporting or like shining light on things, like to not belittle people, whether you're male correcting the feminine or the feminine correcting the masculine, like it's like, yo, like I want to invite you to this moment to have this perception rather than like, why the fuck are you talking like that? Like,
right.
Like don't talk like that. The kids are here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's negating it.
then it's like then shaming you. You're going to a shame spiral. Now you don't feel safe in the space. Your central nervous system's going off. The child is now not only perceiving what you may or may have not said, but that entire process and thinking that that's okay.
It's not. It's
And
you got to
it's
like
like-
it's a very defensive way to look at both sides. And I think instead just looking at it like, look, I'm stuck. I need your help. What do you see?
Hibiscus.
The tea hit you.
Yeah.
Damn. Good for you.
Yeah. It's all right.
It's all right.
Staying.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, like, yeah, no, absolutely. And just like, you know, I think that's really where the fuck you comes into the fuck you love you is like, yo, you're not considering how I feel.
It's the frustration.
It's the frustration of not being seen
the
or cared
frustration.
or cared for in the way you need to be or like considered.
Can I say both sides actually go through this exact same thing?
Absolutely.
Where
I
it's
believe
like,
that.
because once I like what I said,
We have a hard time like communicating our needs to the opposite if they're not willing to understand that it's different than the way that they think.
say that again.
It's hard to relate to your partner or your opposite, you know, how you are experiencing something if they're not willing for your experience to be different than theirs.
If you're not willing for,
If they're not willing. So like if they like think in their head like, no, like you shouldn't feel like that. Because if someone says you shouldn't feel like that.
oh, that's one of the worst things to say.
Like then that means they think that they know how you should feel more than you.
And you're not accepting who they could be and actually are. Like
At that point, there's no conversation.
there isn't. There's just like, I don't accept
You
who
projecting.
you are. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think at
can't
that point,
perceive you.
and I have to say, the comments like that definitely stem from attraction because you're not accepting the person for who they actually are.
Yes.
You're not taking them for exactly who like you went into this with expectations and now they're being crumbled down and you're telling whoever's in front of you, no, this is not how I want it.
I like, you know, it's interesting because you're saying attraction and like I'm interchanging it now with attachment.
Interesting. Explain that.
Because like there's the attachment versus love. Like what is attachment versus love? Like attachment would be innately like an attraction to an attachment of an ideology and or an expectation of what a person can potentially give themselves, give an experience.
It's selfish, isn't it?
It comes from a selfish space, even if it comes out selfless. People can be attached to people and really think from their head to their toes that they're being selfless about it. But they aren't taking that, or maybe they don't have it accessible to them that there's something deeper happening. And it's usually like a childhood wound. And it's like a void trying to be filled and like a fear being met with that person at that trauma. So like then there's not growth. There's no space for growth. So like anytime you try to grow in a situation that's like that, like it becomes like pandemonium. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's all over the place.
Mm-hmm. And you're attaching to, you're literally embodying, like that person in your mind is embodying something that you just can't let go of.
You can't let go of, for sure.
And you're mad at it. You're mad at it because you can't even grasp this person. You can't even
or it's like something you need that you're trying to get from outside of yourself that you need to cultivate from within yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think if you that's beautiful, because I think if you genuinely if you look at that and separate it, all of a sudden this person, that attraction, what was it, that attachment is now based on something that is attached to what you really, really don't want to let go of. Like that's like deep. That's traumatic. That's whatever it is at that point in time.
Like in my perspective, like, you know, I mean, don't quote me on the statistics, but I feel like that's the majority of people.
Well, that's because we're not necessarily taught how to not only love ourselves but love others.
Absolutely.
Because that lesson has not, you know.
So we're just in survival mode with another person.
Yeah, look, public schools, if you're listening, teach us how to love ourselves, because we genuinely have no clue. And then we're sent out into this world without any idea how to manage this thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you build mostly anything. If you want to build a family, a house, or whatever, like you need to want it. You need to love it. You need to take care of it. And if you ain't got
connections rather than just attachments, because attachments and attraction dissipates, but connection is something that could be built upon, cultivated, sustained. You know what I'm saying? Like you can tell, like you can still have a connection with somebody, and that might not be the connection you need. Ooh. You know, because that's the thing. Like you can still have.
Is that attraction at that point?
You know, that's the question,
right?
That's the question.
That's like where therapy comes in. Like, that's for
sure. And it's like and then at the same token, then everybody could be equated to connection. I think it just sits different. You know, I think some people naturally have an affinity to one another, whether you believe in past lives, whether you believe in certain kinds of connections, that's whatever it is. I believe that people have, like, they're supposed to be in each other's lives, whether you want to call it karmic relationships, you know, what is it? Like kindred spirits, whatever the fuck, you know, whatever, like,
if you know, you know.
And but sometimes you know, or you get a bunch of synchronicities, and that's still not your fucking person.
No, because I think that, what was it, this thing, like, then again, if that because you don't want to detach. Yeah. And that detachment is where your answers are at. That's where all your answers are at, bro. Like,
because, like, the thing is, if you detach from an attachment, the connection will still be there.
It will always, if it's, for real, like, if you like, you can't sever a connection that is just, it just exists. It just is. Doesn't matter whatever you want to fucking call it. It just exists. You know what I'm saying? So you either like, okay, I put this place, you know, or I accept this as this is, or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? I think it's just like, it gets so layered and confusing. But it's like, that's a person.
Yeah, but it's really fucking simple. It's just really simple.
It can be, definitely.
We make it complicated because we don't want to accept it as being simple.
I think if you accept it as being complicated, it becomes simple. And then, you know what I'm saying?
He's spitting.
I'm spitting.
You really that was
you're sipping your tea. Let's go.
I'm like, I'm trying to get everything out this tea.
You almost done with yours?
It's like, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. It's good. I mean, no, you don't got to chug it. Enjoy your tea.
Still got some coffee,
chugging
bro.
it. Not you.
I ain't done with all my drinks.
Yo, it's the us having multiple drinks on the table.
That's what it is, man. Stay hydrated.
Absolutely. You have that one for hydration, one for taste, one for energy. That's how I view it.
I only got taste and energy. If you know me, that says a lot.
Oh man.
They don't know.
Yeah. So
they don't know what they got themselves into. They don't know.
Well, they gonna find out, right?
They gonna find out. Yeah.
So how do you? You know, the question we asked. Let's tap into that question. So, as the human you are, how do you handle conflicting emotions such as "fuck you, love you"? Like, how can you release the like? Because obviously, you can still love somebody and still be like, "Yo, fuck you." You know what I mean? But like, how do you stop it from being equally fuck you and equally love you?
I got you. You ready?
Yeah.
Keep that shit ever present. because something I've realized is that every day you wake up and you are a completely different person. Not only do you have to accept yourself, but you have to genuinely put yourself in front of somebody else and be like, this is who I am. Sorry. I don't give a fuck. I'm not perfect. This is who I am. And you got to genuinely say that shit to yourself. So this is what I mean by keeping it ever present. So when it comes to these interactions, and this is something that I recently found out, is like that ability to accept yourself for your imperfections. For one, I'm going to tell you right now, huge background on me. I went through some crazy shit as a young child. I went through domestic violence, and that shit really, really depleted my self-esteem. So I've had to genuinely build that back up from the ground. And that means letting myself know that, look, not everything I do has got to be perfect. If you are like a perfectionist listening to this, listen up. Not everything you do has to be 100%. The fact that you did it is straight up enough. And if it looks like a janky ass piece of, like, a mess, you fucking did it. You did a whole janky ass piece of mess. Congratulations. You know what I'm saying? I think that idea of having to get shit done exactly the way you wanted to get it done is just like, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. That's why I strongly believe in doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like, what's it called? There's this guy. His name is Grant Cardone. He's like in real estate sales and stuff like that. He has like podcasts, and he spoke about a massive amount of action, where it's like, and I think the perfectionists might love this actually, because when you wake up, and especially if you're like an entrepreneur and you're listening to this, like, you have two options, right? You can either wake up and make your day something that's very chill. You almost do nothing, whatever, this and that and the other. You can pursue your day and your checklist, mad chill. You know what chill's days are, right? And then there's the other one, where you can pursue it doing an absurd amount of shit. Like, massive amounts of shit. Like, you're calling everyone, you're genuinely looking at your goal. Like, if it's an event, who can I call, make this happen right now? Like, you are genuinely just stirring shit up, just whatever, and you are accepting yourself for as imperfect as those phone calls may be, as imperfect as that email is, that text message, whatever it is, and you're just moving it, grooving it, bam, 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 back to back to back. You know what I'm saying? And I think that allows you, and that gives you the ability and the acceptance that you need to say, look, everything I do today, it ain't got to be perfect. It ain't got to be 100%. I accept myself exactly for who I am. I ain't got to be 100. Like, fuck
giving
all that.
Giving yourself permission to be, like, a person, to be a human.
Straight up, because that's what we are.
Yeah, I fucking needed to hear that, bro.
Bro, I'm with you.
So thank you for that, for real. I needed to fucking hear that
shit. Go outside, underwear's only. Turned out to be 30 degrees. You stupid now, but it's okay. You human. You know what I'm saying?
You learn to check the weather next time.
There you go.
You know?
Like, that's a crazy scenario. I mean, it's not even that crazy either. You just went outside with your underwears and all of a sudden it's a swimsuit, 30 degrees and it's snowing. You know what I'm saying? So, but back to that topic, because I definitely went somewhere else. That's was something
it's okay,
that
it was needed to come out.
Definitely. Sure. I appreciate that.
Of course.
But with those two conflicting feelings, it's just be aware that they're always there. Genuinely be aware that they're always there. Not every interaction, like I said, is gonna be perfect. You're not always going to be perfect. You're going to make people sad. You're going to make people mad. You're going to make them happy. You're going to make them excited. You're going to make them feel inspired. You know what I'm saying? But it's in allowing yourself to be that, and to be that representation is everything. Because if your younger self would definitely want that.
For sure. I absolutely agree. It's like, something that I don't know if it's because, like, I have a Libra moon or, like, whatever the fuck, just because I'm a person that seeks balance in everything. Hence, like, fucking everything I do. Mm-hmm. It's a podcast named All Things.
Shit, we here, though.
And it's great because it's all about finding balance. So it's like, I want to ask, like, going back to that question is like, well, what do you do when it's like almost craving paralysis? What do you do, like, when you have conflicting emotions? Like, you said you work out, you go for a walk or something like that. Can you elaborate on, like, what your process looks like?
Absolutely. First is the acknowledgement that, this is crazy.
Yeah.
That's so real. This is wild right now. Yeah. It's like you wake up, your eyes are just like, damn.
Why the fuck is this on my mind so heavy?
Fuck this shit. First, you acknowledge it. You realize, like, it's always like, where is this coming from? What is it? discernment, get the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
Realize what it is. And then once you get yourself into a powerful position above it, you can definitely I think realize what to do. I think journaling is one of the most beautiful things where you can actually put yourself in a position to understand yourself in a very intimate way. In all aspects of, like, there is no judgment at all. I love talking and walking. I think they rhyme for a reason, and let's go, like, walking and talking. To yourself too, like, genuinely, no, like, with nobody. If you want to do it with somebody, that's even better. If you got it, you got it. But yeah, like, genuinely, like, walking and talking, I've used that method amazingly because the way that I love to communicate myself is, like, I enjoy communicating myself at my best potential, like, possible, because I know when it comes down to it, if I'm talking to a client or I'm talking to a homie of mine and they just need some, like, real advice, being there and being able to activate that real me, despite how it is important. And giving myself the space to be imperfect is so important, because that's all it is. The ability that you have to be so imperfect is perfect. Like, it's such a weird thing. And it's really wonderful. I genuinely, like, when I say I exercise, definitely fitness plays a huge role. To put it simply, you are lifting your own weight. Point blank period. Like, you go to the gym. If it's one of your first few times, if you don't go to the gym too often, like, yo, just pick one machine and look stupid at it. Don't worry about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if that's as low as you got to set the bar, do it. Like, it genuinely becomes a point where you're just like, I'm, like, for me, genuinely, I have to go to the gym. And this is something that I recently realized as a man. Like, our energy, our masculine energy, needs a place where it can put things up and put them down. You know, it's part of how I believe, at least for me, I've realized that I thrive when I feel confident with that energy. If I don't feel confident with that energy that allows me to move things physically, I'll just, if you stupid, you'll end up doing, like, really stupid stuff with it. You know what I'm saying?
You know, like, something that just, like, really dawned on me in this moment is, like, it makes so much sense because, like, naturally, a majority of men can lift, carry more things than women, right? And, like, typically in the tribes and in our areas, in our towns, like, y'all were, like, lifting up logs of wood and blocks of things and cutting down trees and doing all this shit on a daily basis. And, like, now we don't live in that world, so, like, the gym is just, like, the simulation of what society was.
I mean,
so in order
don't
to
get me
feel,
wrong.
like,
I'm sorry
connected
to cut you off.
to society, you'd have to do it.
I'm sorry to cut you off,
Okay.
but we are still, like, in jobs. Like, you got supermarket jobs, you got all these different kinds of jobs. Yo, they still look at the biggest dude in the room. Yo, lift this. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes I am that dude in the room, and I gotta be confident and also be in the right mindset where I'm like, let's go. And going to the gym gives me the confidence to lift that heavy shit and say, I got you.
Well, like, my point is, like, naturally, like growing up back in the day, like, that was something that you just grew into. Like, it was every day, almost every day. And you grew into, even if you were just keeping the house warm by taking the wood in and building a fire or throwing in the wood stove, like, there was so much more physical labor that I feel like it's almost a way that, you know, humanity, and specifically talking about males in this moment, are just, like, finding a way to reconnect with nature in the way that we have it. Like, it's a beautiful thing.
That's
like,
why
when
I love
you
it.
give, like, when you give space, like, and it's like I'm so spastic in this table, but, like, when you when you give space for it, I feel like in the past I've just been so judgmental and critical on it, because I feel like, you know, a lot of times people are going about it in a vain way. And when they're going about it in a vain way, and I perceive that, and I'm like, it's like the same way that I've felt. I don't want to, like, sit here and say I feel, because I've definitely been, like, nurturing those aspects that get triggered by, like, those polarities. But, like, it's like the same reason that, like, you know, you see a woman
dress a certain way at a certain time and behave a certain way with the way that they were dressed. Like not just dressing, like people, like people could be butt ass naked and not be sexual.
Word.
But people could be like completely clothed and be sexual. It's an energetic thing, most of all. And then there's people that combine the two. You know, like I feel like with men, like that I've just I've witnessed and perceived that in different moments where it's like, this is like for first and foremost vanity, and I judge that process, but like I forgot that like the human aspect, because I was so cruel on myself internally and so lack of compassion on myself internally. When I was younger, I had a lack of compassion in their process, because at the end of the day, even if that person starts to go to the gym for vain reasons, even if it's not for health, even if it's for like, I want to be liked, I want to be validated, like who the fuck am I to tell that person how to have their process? Like at the end of the day, like I might not agree with it if it's done in a certain formula, especially if you're like dating the person. It could get really triggering, because it's like, well, is there not enough here that you need to like, you
wow,
know?
that's
and
interesting.
Like,
for
real, because it's like not because you're doing that for yourself, but because of the sensation of like why it's being done. And rather than like being so critical and judgmental on that, just like surrendering to the process of like, yo, that person's learning how to be more of themselves. Even if it is coming from a validation state, like it's eventually going to get there if that person is innately moving in growth. And if you're dating them, obviously that's the momentum you're seeing them move in if you're in, because that's what you're attracting, right? So it's just, I don't know, it's just like a big shift. Like I feel like I've taken pieces of that throughout my life. But I feel like within the conversation, also paying attention to you express like what it feels like for you, and then your energy and the way you looked when I was expressing how I received that, and the appreciation and love and being seen for doing something good for yourself was like really medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Because I think a lot of times if you're like judging that person for like, oh, like, they're going out, they're doing this, they're getting better. Why they getting better? Like, don't worry about them.
Not the why they getting better part, but like why do they feel like they need to get love and validation in this way when they deserve it?
Yeah.
Just for innately being them.
I'm not gonna lie. I recently went through something where my body genuinely physically went through something. And it was because I put it through it, you know. I put it through that physical, strenuous task, right? And I'm talking about like running, sprinting. Like if you like, this is why exercise is so important, because it's not only just the exercise itself, but the like genuinely, at least for me, when it comes to like the way I thought about it, the actual commitment that went behind that physical task, and then the completion. I had kind of like an out-of-body experience where I was like, wow, my body does so much for me. Thank you.
That support system.
And it took me away from like all the crazy trauma that I had gone through as a child, and put me in a place where I was like, thank you, body. Like, thank you. Like, and then it also made me reference how negatively I abuse, like thought-wise, how negatively I abuse myself sometimes with these thoughts. And then I'm just like, yo, like I started apologizing to myself, and I'm like, yo, thank you, like, you know. And I started crying on the floor. Like that was a moment, you know what I'm saying? But I genuinely feel like exercise is I think it's the gateway to really understanding yourself. Because sometimes what the heart and the mind can't really understand, the body can. And that's just the best way I can genuinely put it, because
it's such an interesting process, and I'm like really grateful that we're talking about this topic. Like yesterday, I was talking with a good friend of mine, and we were just discussing this stuff. And you know, although he is a male, like it's him and my, like, our approach is similar, and like we're very like heady. You know, where like it's like very like
problem solving, researching, like, what are your morals?
Right,
like,
right.
you know, like, fuck the gym if you don't have morals, like, you know, kind
my
of
God,
shit,
yeah,
like
yeah.
intense things in that way, but like rooted in discovering and flipping over the darkest rocks within ourselves kind of route, you know? So it's like the literal part that people avoid. And also, like, a lot of times people have access to that part through working out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend, we were talking about how it's like opposite for us. Like, that comes naturally. It's like backwards almost. It's like the hardest part is not that working out is hard, you know, like, but like the hardest internal like things to get into is not easy for us, but it's easier for us than to bring that into full circle. And I noticed with myself, like, and I'm just in this season of like, I had a similar breakthrough yesterday when I was in therapy. I was talking to my therapist, and I was just like, yo, like, I just feel so grateful that like the people that are in my life are like nurturing such deep connections in like such a real way, where it's like not attachment, not void filling, where it's like so incredible, where I'm able to like give myself compassion and through watching them go through their processes and learn. And and that same self-abusive cycle, I said to her, I'm like, yo, something that I'm accepting about myself, because I've been listening to this book. It's called The Habit of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Right? So the first time I read that title, I was like, fuck you mean? Like,
The fuck you talking about?
I was like,
Mad
no,
defensive towards a book.
mad defensive. I'm like,
About to jump that shit, yo.
I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't I want to be me? Why would I break that habit? You know?
Right.
And then I was just like,
Elaborate.
all right, like, chill. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's the same.
That's one of those, don't judge the book by its cover. Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
I forgot the author's name, but he's the same person who wrote the book Becoming Supernatural. I think you would like both of these books, actually. Anyone who's listening, definitely tap out into that for sure, like, because it's really like, it's a really good one. And I'm on chapter 2, like, and I'm already like,
Let's go. Damn,
right?
damn.
And it's talking about the part in between, like, okay, you've thought about all of these things, you've perceived all of these things, and like, you know, and what is stopping you from doing them, you know, like what is that? And it's like the connection with your body, like it's like it's like, or vice versa.
Yeah,
right? So it's like, if
genuinely,
someone's not connected to their heart, then
my
they
God.
can just do a bunch of things.
Oh my God.
Right? You
Yeah.
know, like,
with
you
no
look at-
direction.
with no direction,
With no
like,
intention.
or they do have direction, but it's not matters of the heart. That's why you find people who are billionaires, millionaires, that pay escorts to just be in their presence, to have
Oh
a
my
conversation, because they're so desperately looking for connection.
I have something to say about this, because genuinely, like, when we really think about success and what it really means to be successful in this world, like, all of a sudden that topic gets so much different when, yes, you can have as much money as you want. You could be like, yes, you can be financially successful, but are you emotionally successful?
Exactly.
Are you like
physically successful?
Physically
Are you
successful?
mentally
yeah,
successful?
you know what I'm saying? Like, do you genuinely go out of your way to talk to your fam? Do you go out of your way to go for a run? Maybe you do. It's like all these different things still need your attention. So like, what is success?
And it's like just balancing them out, because it's not like I don't feel like I like ever fully commit to neglecting my body, but I just decenter it. You know what I mean? And that's usually the first self-sacrificial thing for me. It's like, it'll be the body, then it'll be the mind, you know, then emotions, and then spirit would be like the last one that ever gets compromised.
But mine,
But,
unfortunately, is sometimes it's the heart.
Yeah.
And you know, I can definitely see why.
I can see
why. Yeah.
Like, I understand why. Like, it's scary to like have your heart is it's sensitive, it's squishy. You know what I mean? It's, it's
it is
permeable.
It
you know,
is.
it's just like, you know, of course, like,
Yeah.
of course, guard. You know what I mean? It's like. And like, yes, I would say that happens too. But for me, like, I mentally close off before my heart actually closes off.
Wow.
Like, my heart like, I have to commit so deeply mentally to then close my heart off, because it's just, I'm a fucking lover, man. Like, I love hard. I love people. I really do. Like, not just romantically, like, just people in general. Like, I really just have love for humans. Like, especially I feel like the people that come into my life are like, tend to be just like the misfit people that don't feel like they fit anywhere. And I'm like, you fit perfectly in my heart.
Yeah.
I love you just as you are.
I love, man, look, and this is something that people around me always do. And I guess I'm just a reflection of that. And I give back in the same way. It's like, yo, I love breaking people out of their own idea of what perfection is. Because at the end of the day, that's just you let your mind run too long. You let that ego get fed for too long, and all of a sudden you're afraid to be something you're not even. Like you're not even what that ego is. Like,
and it's like
you're way more.
And
you know?
it's and just like understanding, like, this is what I was getting at in therapy yesterday, was like, I've been noticing myself, like, so I don't know if I talked about it last week or something, but like I got my blood tested, and I came back, and like I was like super vitamin D deficient. Whoa. And I was
I remember you told me about this.
Yeah, like, and that whole process, like, I was like, yo, because like, you know, I'm going through a lot of different experiences.
Word.
Some really high vibrational, some lower vibrational, some ups, some downs, everything in between. You know, like I'm having like, I'd say it's probably equally both right now in my life. But like I was like, okay, like I'm doing some heavy shit. Like maybe it's normal that I'm feeling like lethargic and stuff. And I was like, nah, like I've worked really hard to not be that sleepy girl. Like I've worked really hard to not be the sad girl. And I'm like, when I felt like the sad coming in real hard and the sleepy coming in real hard, I'm like, am I very depressed? Like, how am I managing it?
Not gonna cup. Same thing.
And like, I'm like, logically, I'm like, rationally, this makes sense because, you know, grief and breakup and this and that and that and like all these different aspects, right? And like, oh, okay, this logically makes sense. You know, also like there's like a weird grieving process that happens when you start a business, which is like a whole other podcast and a whole other thing.
We could definitely
that's a whole other thing.
Break
like
that
I'm
down.
still
That's
processing
crazy.
that, like, cause you know I could be a melancholy ass bitch. I just really work on like I just really work on like keeping that, cause I'm not a fake positive person, but I also don't want to be like.
No, like, look,
like somewhere in
genuinely,
between.
I was talking to my mother about this, and this is just a concept that I've been realizing, especially like, and I think both genuinely, like both feminine and masculine sides can relate to this. Sacrifice. Both genuinely need to do that in different ways, but sacrifice is a genuine part about it.
Absolutely.
The way that we spoke about this was, okay, if you have an objective and there's something that you genuinely want to do, realize what it is. Cool. Now, genuinely, like, be straight up with yourself. What kind of sacrifice is necessary for that? And are you willing to do that? Because, you know what I'm saying? Because regardless of what you really, really want, what is going to take it? Yes, if you want to look beautiful, if you want to have, raging biceps, an incredible physique, you want to be able to run genuinely like Forrest Gump.
How much do you really want it? What are you willing to sacrifice for it?
Not even that. Like, once you can actually put yourself in a position where you can accept, okay, this is the sacrifice that's necessary. All right, let's go. Stop complaining. There's no more, like, what, like.
It's the acceptance.
And
that was literally what I was unpacking yesterday in therapy, was the acceptance. I've been accepting myself for where I'm at. So, like, once I got the blood test back, and I was like, they were like, yeah, like, all things good, you know? It's like, just, you're, like, extremely fucking low in vitamin D. And I'm like, oh, my God, like, what is the spectrum, you know? And it's like, it starts, the lowest is 25, and I was, like, 11. They were like, are you like extremely tired? Like, are you like really having a hard time just functioning? And I'm like, yeah, no, I am. I'm like, oh,
wow.
shit. So I realized that I'm grateful I listened to my body. And it's like I'm always up to date when
That's
it comes
insane.
to like
I might
blood
genuinely
tests
need
and
to check my
like
stuff
that.
too. That's crazy.
Yeah, like I'm very like tedious with that, you know, when it comes to like getting checked for everything and stuff like that. I just like to know. I like to be aware of like the different cycles of my body, especially as women. Something I think that was really fucking interesting.
Wow.
When you get blood tested, there's certain spectrums, especially on a hormone panel, where there's different ranges, right? So it's like luteal, menstrual, ovulation, and follicular phases. These are every week. When you are talking to a woman,
right,
they are on a different cycle hormonally.
Every
like
week?
even young women and older women that are yet to get their cycle or don't get their cycle anymore still operate on the hormone functionality of these things. It not to the extent that you do when you are in your childbearing years, where you ovulate and produce eggs and then also shed your uterine lining, but like to the degree that like on the blood panels you can see, like, okay, it's like if you're taking my progesterone, there is not only a percentage and a range for one of each of those 4 phases, but there is also a range for 1, 2, and 3rd trimester of being pregnant. So, and the ranges are immensely different. It's like you can be like, 50.50 to like 10 or like 25, right, range for like the adequate amount of progesterone. And then on your like ovulation phase or on your menstruation phase, like it could be up to like 500 in the same test for the same hormone. But just whatever week you catch yourself, it's fucking incredible.
That's
it's
so
absolutely
weird,
wild.
man. Yo, that's wild.
And it's like men, y'all, like humans born as men, like y'all literally operate by the sun.
You told me about this.
And women, we operate by the moon, and that's the cycle. Full moon, new moon, first half moon, second half moon. That shit is literal science. It's fucking. It's not.
It's
this
nuts,
is not just
man.
esoteric knowledge. And yes, it's all of it. It's all of
real,
it.
yeah.
Like and like so. All of that
That's
to say,
wild.
when I was looking, I was like, oh my God, that's fucking crazy. Like, that's wild. Like, cause I was like, oh, like, and I looked and I was like, wow, like, that is the phase that I'm in. And that is, okay, that's a good range. All right, cool. That makes sense.
It makes
I looked
sense,
at it,
yo.
I was like, that looks like a high number. And it's like, no, this is where you're at. So I was like, oh, okay, boom. And I was paying attention to that. So, like, all of that to say, because I did what I did, I felt the need to honor my body to just go get, like, checked up with everything and all that. And, like, I was able to accept, like, oh shit, this is where you're at. Where, my friend said to me yesterday, like, I was like, yo, I'm like, I took fucking vitamin D. I was buzzing. I was like, da-da-da. He's like, that's so funny because actually vitamin D takes 30 days for you to feel it. So I literally just needed to show up for myself and start the process, and I already felt that much better.
It's accepting it.
It's accepting it. So
Word.
I said to my therapist, I was like, all choked up, talking to her. I'm like, yo, I'm just really accepting me for where I'm at. I'm really accepting people for where they're at. I just really appreciate this moment. And most of all, I'm like that abusive hand that just wants to beat me when I'm down. Like, that's why you didn't get shit done.
That judge,
that's why you didn't get to the gym when you had the
Oh my
membership.
God.
That's why you didn't da-da-da-da-da. Like, all that shit that starts coming. The safe spot of like my adult self that's keeping me safe is now shifting. It's like integrating the shadow aspect, integrating the ego, where when I feel that fist of that aspect of my ego coming up, another part of my ego is grabbing the hand.
Yeah, wow.
And it's like, we ain't doing that no more.
That's interesting.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Wow, sit down. That's
But
great.
sit down.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
And then like, come in
Yeah,
to
take
me
it easy, yeah.
with love
Mm-hmm.
and acceptance. Not in a like, oh, it's like, nah, it's like, you got this. Just like solid support.
So I could definitely so let's talk about that side of ourselves, because I genuinely feel like when it comes to getting shit done, like if you are really hard on yourself in that scenario, I feel like the way that I've been able to manage and also shift that side of myself is by saying like, all right, I'm going to take care of these two because they're figuring this out right now. And we're talking about like the inner child and the supportive, right? The advocate. When they're figuring things out, because, sometimes it's just time for them to do what they got to do during that time. Maybe you just need some inner work and those two got to get work done, right? So the way you can shift that is by making it the protector, because it is the ego. What? It protects, right? So just what I usually tell myself is, look, those guys right now, yo, y'all do your thing. If anybody comes up and y'all just need me to tell them, yo, we not good right now, I'll say it. Yo, we not good right now. And allowing and giving you guys that space to be like, look, you guys are doing some work right now. My job is the protector, quote unquote, the ego. We have a face, we have a body, we have a name. Just tell them, yo, Rangel's not good right now. Like, we just, like, that's it. Yeah. Give them space, give them the time. And then that way it's like a whole respective treatment. But now you are even thanking yourself for saying that. You're thanking that side of yourself where it's like, thank you for backing me up when I needed that. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for being there, and thank you for taking care of us when we needed to do some deep work, because that meant the world for us. Sometimes we are in positions where we just generally don't need to put ourselves there, because we just, for whatever reason, we feel like we should is kind of like you feel like you owe somebody something.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, you know, whoever you are, wherever you are, you don't owe nobody shit.
Mm-hmm.
The only person you owe something to is yourself. Because if you ain't got yourself, you ain't got nobody
and that
else.
could look like compassion in those moments. Like something I was unpacking with my therapist is like that part of myself. She's like, "How old does it feel?" And I was like, "That don't even. That feels like that's like that's not even." It was way before me. Like
So
that's
it's not
my
even a question.
parents.
Yeah, wow.
That's my parents' parents. Like this is like an expectation. This is a whole aspect of like, yo, like this is the expectations of what has been put in the trauma, in the generational trauma of like the harshness, the not being able to communicate emotions, the not being able to see things, survival mode, and all of that. Like that's where that's come from. It's not even coming from me. I'm like, I don't even hear it in my own voice.
Crazy.
Like
Yeah, sometimes it's not even in your own
it's
voice.
not even it'll take form of like, you know, a parent or like, you know, just like a feeling, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's just such a strong sensation. I'm like, I don't need that. Like, even though it's like that, even though like, you know, our parents are trying to protect us and things like that, you know, I heard it as my dad, you know, and like my dad is deceased for 10 years. And like, when I realized that, because my dad was like he's such a solid man in the way that like he really took on for like me and my sisters and really did amazing things. Like simultaneously, I could look back and like see like, oh, he was just like a man figuring it out. Like, you know, like he was just a man figuring it out. And like he did an exceptional job with what he was doing. I mean, he was fucking in a house with 3 girls. Like, you know, it's a lie. You know, he's doing the best he could. But, like, obviously, you know, there was always traumas and frustrations and the lack of him being able to express himself and, like, you know, the lack of that space existing for him in his life definitely, like, passed on, you know. But I feel like rather than judging it or, like, hating him for it, like, it's meant for me to evaluate it, look at it, and heal it, you know, and just, like, integrate it. So, like, I feel like that's what I'm doing with that. Yeah. And, like, because, you know, no matter what, even if you have parents that – you know, either were never in your life or like, you know, that are in your life, like, you know, or and passed on, or like, no matter what, you'll always have your parents in your head, even if you never met them, because it's like you'll have your perception of them in your head or your expectations of them in your head, you know, or like, and if you had them and then they passed on, like you'll have your experiences, but you still have your perception, because every year that goes by, like, you know, it's like you can, you're ultimately forgetting more and more. It's like that's just a reality, you know what I mean? Because you can't continuously remember what's not constantly shown in front of you. And the way the human brain works, like memory wise, is like very peculiar. It's like just very interesting in how you know, we remember certain things and don't remember certain things, and really like swear that we remember
people
things
be
in a
saying,
certain way,
you said this, and I'm like,
no.
All right.
Or you know, you remember it in a different way because
like,
it
that's
felt
crazy.
different.
Yeah. And they're bringing it back to you. They're like, yo, you said this, you said that, or the other, and I'm like, no. All right. And then I just, you know, laugh it off because I genuinely don't remember that shit.
Memory is like really interesting like that. I think like
apparently you can actually train it. Like the mind is that wonderful where you can actually train it. I've taken on the journey, and if you guys know me, like you guys know, I do photography, and it's like for the longest time I did photography for somebody else and not me. But that's just what happens when you do stuff professionally. Sometimes you just gotta take, you know.
That's usually the route.
Yeah. So as I started bringing back that energy to me, like I realized like the ability to take photos is very, very wonderful, because in this, you know, like you as this person that you're going through life, you know, this is what you got. Like taking pictures and genuinely looking back at these memories of all these beautiful things that you went through is wonderful. It really is wonderful. And like sometimes there be shit like, look, you're not gonna cover it all. I think that's one of the photographers' like biggest gripe. Like, I can't take every photo that I want. I was in a scenario not too long ago, literally yesterday, where the lighting was just perfect. I was like, oh my God. If I just had my camera, I didn't even have my phone with me. It was across the room. But I was like, I'm going to remember that. Because that was wonderful. That was beautiful. But either way, I took a photo the other day around it. But like, looking back at some photos of like, you know, like you got like the thing or whatever, where you, if like you have an album, photo album. I don't know why that was so hard to remember. If you have like a photo album, I had one when I was younger, and you look through it and you see these photos, you might not remember the fact that it happened, but you remember that happened, and that is a lot, because then all of a sudden you can genuinely bring back
Time travel.
Yeah, no, straight up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get lost in pictures. I have a hard time with that. I really get lost in pictures, whether it's photo albums. Like, I feel like guaranteed anytime I'm like doing a deep clean on my house, I'm going to come across some kind of photo album and sit there and look at them and like process emotions for at least 2 hours.
That's got to stop you from like that would stop me from cleaning.
It does. Like, it literally does. That's the problem. So like sometimes I'll have a boundary with it and I'm like, okay, this is not the time, but you know where it is. So when you're ready to unpack that, you can do that.
Put that shit in the corner.
Then it's like whispering like, but come look. Just come feel your emotions. Look at the pictures of you when you were a kid. Oh my God. And I'm like, why? Like this. Or like, you know, other kind of, you know, photo albums, whatever. Like,
when you accidentally pull up your photo, whatever thing you use, you pull up the app and it just goes to like the weirdest date.
Oh my God, I was like the Google Photos, like, Google Photos will be like, remember this? And I'm like, this is not what I want to remember.
This is not, right I did not right.
Straight up what I don't need.
Yo, I'm about to order something right now. Like, why do I need to, like, no.
It's like, oh my God, it's like, it's so funny, like the things that
shit is hilarious.
It'll be like, it's so funny because it sometimes it's so triggering that it's so funny. It's like, oh, you're having like an interesting day, or you're having good, whatever's coming up. It's like, here are all the foods you used to eat with your ex, and go post video with like some weird music that doesn't match it.
And then like just some photo with mad skin on it. You're like, damn, you didn't need to see that shit. It's crazy,
oh my God. It's like, why is this in this album? You know,
Nah, but you know you ain't want to delete that shit.
That's why you gotta keep the locked folders. You can't keep them out there, bro. You gotta be, yo, you remember the calculator app?
Which one?
Did you know about that? I know you're a little younger.
The calculator app.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I think the first one I have like was called, it was a Samsung for sure. Samsung nope. Anyways,
if you don't know, you don't know. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. It should never exist.
Talk to me about this calculator app.
It's essentially a lock folder.
A lock folder.
But it looked like a calculator.
Wait, really?
So it's like, I think it still exists. It's like a calculator, but like you click it looks like a calculator app, but you click it and you type in a certain number, and then it takes you to like private pictures.
So it masked the icon to be something else.
And it was a functional calculator. It was only if you put in a certain password and then like hit enter, then it'll take you to there.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. That's beautiful encryption. Nah, I'd be crazy with my shit. I'd be leaving that shit open. Like, if you open it up and you see something you didn't want to see,
you're wildin' for that. Especially if it's other humans. Definitely get a locked folder.
It's happened.
Or delete them. Strong on delete them if they're not your people.
And then they be asking for an explanation, and I look at them like,
yo, all right, if we can unpack that for a second, let's unpack that, okay? Because this is beyond gender, all right? This is very much so a human thing, right? A lot of people keep certain things, like they keep keepsakes, right?
Word.
I have had a very long, different spectrum of like what I feel about that. I used to be like, fucking gotta worry about it.
Yo.
I was dead ass like fucking Kratos burning the fucking town down and wiping my ashes.
Fighting all the gods and shit.
Absorbing all the ashes about it. Like, fuck, bro. Like, that shit used to get me so mad. Like,
so
how the fuck could you keep this?
What happened?
Now it's like, I still feel like you shouldn't keep it, to be honest. I just feel like respect, like energetically, like that's somebody.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Energetically, that's somebody. I still feel like you shouldn't keep it. You know, I personally, every time like I break up with somebody, I delete everything. Like I actually,
good for you.
I delete everything. Like I'll take the time to like delete everything.
Good for you.
Honestly, good for me, but maybe like not. Like
I mean, look,
like really intense. Right now, I've been going through a different approach. I've been like being slow about it because like I usually am like, oh, okay, like once I get to the shutting off the heart part, which I didn't actually have to do with this, which is pretty cool. But like different, you know? Different like growth in my evolution. But anyway, in the past, like I've had to like shut my heart off. And once I did, I'm like, I hate you. I hate that I love you.
Yeah,
I can't see anything about you. If I
not.
fucking see your stupid face doing fucking smiling, doing
Shit.
fucking whatever, like
Hey, why the
being
fuck you
here,
so
like
happy, yo?
fucking sunset, a fucking cloud that reminds me of you. Delete, like
Delete.
fuck that shit.
Yo,
you know
damn,
what I mean?
yo.
Like, I'll literally
That is
like,
God of War
thorough.
shit. That is some crazy.
I've like and like, but my God of War shit was more so when I would see if I ever came across like I was like not like a phone searcher, but if we're like sitting here and you're like, yo, look at this picture. Like, and while you're looking for the picture,
Zoom out, fucking
there's
swipe
like,
down.
there's like
Some
a
crazy
fucking,
shit.
some shit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm not going to pretend like I didn't just see that, first of all.
Why you doing so much? Like, just look at them. Like, why you doing so much? I genuinely
like, just
showed
find
you.
the picture and then give it to me.
You know what they should do? They should have like.
They should really delete it. I stand on that.
They should have like a lock on that photo. So when you show somebody a photo, you can.
They should go
lock,
in the calculator app.
lock,
If it's gonna exist, get it the fuck out my face, respectfully.
Damn.
I don't want to know. I don't
Damn.
want to see it. I don't feel like it's cool. I don't like it in general. I really wish it didn't exist in the space. But if it must, for whatever process you're going through, either I have to accept that, or I have to not accept you and walk away, or I have to accept that that's a part of your process, and then, but just don't put it in my face, like even if it wasn't like anything sexual, like I used to have a problem, like even like looking at and seeing like my ex, like when she's like scrolling, like I see her ex, and I'm like, now I'm just like. Because I'm like, well, why are you hoarding onto those memories? Like, well, why is that?
God,
like, why is
yeah.
that like something like when
Yeah.
you're going on memory lane on a Tuesday? Like, why are
Yeah.
you in there with that? Like, why is that something? Because then it
You
shows
like
me.
you put the phone down. You with me right now? What's up?
Yeah, no, I've
What's
literally,
up?
I'm definitely.
No, you say that shit.
Yeah, no,
Say
I'm
that
definitely
shit.
saying that shit.
Say that shit.
I can't, like, it's the thing about me is like my energy is so loud. Before I say anything, that Mars energy that we share is like fucking boiling magma.
Damn.
That before I even say words,
Word.
you already know exactly what time I'm on and what I'm about to say,
I
and
need
you're
to
already
say words.
contemplating.
I need to say words. I walk with my Mars, so I
Oh,
gotta
I
say
say
words.
them. I say them, but in that deep breath that I'm taking, I'm trying to do better. You feel me?
you're
Because
trying to
I used
reduce-
to be like off the rip. I had the flamethrower. You feel me?
The whip.
I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like off the rip, like, you know. And I'm trying to be chiller. Like
Yeah.
I'm really trying to do better. I like integrate
Yo.
my anger. Like I'm definitely a person that has like I'm okay with my anger. My anger, like me, we're cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be like a super calm person all the time, but like
No need.
no need, right?
No need.
Like
What you talking
passion.
about?
Like I'm a passionate person.
Hit
You know
that
what I'm
shit.
saying? I'm passionate about mine. So like if I see something that's like coming into space, like I can get protective. Like, you know, I can be that. And like and at times I was possessive. You know what I mean? And
I believe that because I'm genuinely like straight up, and I think it's a very caring. It comes from a very caring point.
course.
Because here's the thing. I think it comes back to the fuck you love you thing, where it's like,
it's all fuck you, love you, man.
man, look, listen. So it's like, yo,
It's the squaring up.
I'm squaring up to the topic.
Yeah.
So it's like, listen, you come across this situation because I genuinely have a thing where I'm like, yo, like, let's not only like, oh my God, this is such a large topic. Like, when it comes to that protectiveness, I feel like for me in a relationship, and it only happens in a relationship where like I sometimes, and this is definitely me in the past, where it's like the fact that I might genuinely have an attraction, like if it was coming from a place of attraction, that protectiveness can definitely get like possessive.
Absolutely. I mean, even so, like, we're human. We have to navigate heavy emotions. You know what I mean? Like, I like, you know, have liked the feeling of being with a person that's possessive because it feels like a familiar experience of like a certain flavor of trauma I've experienced in my life, with just like the protectiveness and the lack of like, you know, the lack of having a father, and like having somebody come in and like give a masculine energy regardless of like the gender, and just being like, yo, I'm here to protect you, even if it's that like I'm here to keep you, I'm here to take you off, like, you know, what is it, Drake, when he's like, I should have put you somewhere where no one could find you.
Oh my God,
Like,
yeah.
I hate that song. It's called Desires. I was listening the other day. And I'm like, I always date this person. And a part of me like really loves it. And I'm like, another part
That's
of me
crazy,
is like,
yeah.
really no.
Like, no,
Like,
yeah.
Really no.
I think it definitely, like, yo, be real. Why are you with this person? Why? Why? Is it selfish? Are you trying to fulfill something with this person? Like, because if that's the case, they ain't going to fulfill that shit. Nope. They gonna straight up disappoint you.
Even when you think it's not, when it's like, because things change, you know, like you can both come into something with the perspective, this is what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we're going with this. And then things could change. And like, the thing about relationships, I think that people have a misconception of, it's like, you don't just pick a person and like, that's your person, that's it. Like,
you gotta put that motherfucker to the test.
Like, both y'all to the test. And like, in that process, like, you gotta be okay with them showing their fucking ass and like being a person.
Word.
You tolerate what you can expect, like, I mean, what you can accept. But
your own
like,
boundaries and shit.
Of course. And like, if there's something you can't accept, you step away from it. But like, also, it's just like being real with like, is this person meeting my needs? And not like my needs that I need to meet for myself, my relational needs. Like, there are needs that we need to meet for ourselves. And then there are needs that we need to meet in a relationship. Yes, we should have growth, and yes, it should get uncomfortable at times in a relationship. Shouldn't be super comfortable, shouldn't be super uncomfortable. Should be somewhere in between. In my perspective, I think that that's the way to be like, yo, like, it's really like, excuse me, can this person comprehend me? Are they listening? Like, you know, like, we're all capable of not listening and doing things like, but like, are they applying? When I say, hey, I really want to start doing this, like, are they considering it? Is it something that they also want to do? And if they can't, it might not be because they don't love you. It could be because they don't have it accessible to them because they're going through whatever process they're going through. So I think that's where we turn into the fuck you. Is like, you can't give me what I need, right? But like, you actually need to give that to yourself. And if you need something else in a relationship and I can't give it to you, then maybe it's not the relationship that you should be in. But we want to get selfish. We want to get possessive. We want to feel like I'm not inadequate. You're wrong. You're the villain now. You hurt my heart, so now I have to hate you.
But it's not really them.
It's not. And
is that attraction? What was that other word that you used? Attachment.
It's like, it's a mix of all of that stuff. And I just feel like so many people have to villainize people in order to move on, which, listen, I have like a black belt in that. Like, I really get it. Like, I've burnt bridges. I start fires. Like,
just to make sure it's done.
Just to think that I won't go back to it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is like, my heart is like so forgiving, right? And unconditional love is forgiving. So, and I truly believe that you can come back from anything. Like, I really believe that.
Given the right amount of time.
Given the right amount of time. Right.
Because I think both sides need time to realize it's not us anymore.
We're different people entirely.
Completely.
I don't even fucking know you.
Nope. Who are you?
You know what I mean?
What's your name?
Yo, it's like, for real. And like, yo, like, it's like, for real. And like, that's where connection comes in, because things like that, you know, but also at the same token, like, you just never know. So you got to just meet yourself where you're at, and like, whatever that looks like, whoever that looks like, whatever that means to you, most of all, honoring yourself, like, and taking the time that you need to be with yourself and just being realistic, because I feel like when we have connections, it's like intoxicating. Like, we get like pulled in. It's like, you know, you smell the someone cooking baked cookies. Oh shit, cooking like fresh baked cookies, right? And you're like, oh my God, I want cookies. Like, I want these cookies. Like, they smell so good. You like walk into the space and you're like, oh my God, I want cookies, right? Like, instead of realizing like that person's going to be there, they're going to be cooking them, you know them, and you know how the process is and all that, and you can come back to it. You don't have to be afraid that you're never going to get those cookies again and buy the whole store out, right? Because like, I feel like that's what happens sometimes when it comes to like strong, passionate, whether attachment or connection or both, you know, however that looks. Because I feel like I'm transparently where I'm at. Like, I have a podcast, I have like different videos of me talking about love versus attachment. Like, I was asked to speak here at an event years ago about that, and like, there's some things that I really agree with, and there's some things I don't agree with anymore. And like, I'm in like a really transitional space of just like learning what love means to me and giving it to myself ultimately before anyone and anything else.
I agree.
Not villainizing people,
Mm-hmm.
eliminating any kind of distractions or excuses. You know, it's like, oh, I need to tell this person this. Okay, tell them so that you don't think about it anymore.
Sure.
Okay, I need
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do this
Let's
thing.
get to it.
Okay, do it. So
Let's
then
get
it's
it right away.
It's like checking things off.
Mhm.
Things that have been sitting on my shoulder for like 4 years. Things that have been sitting on my shoulder for 6 months. Things that have been sitting
It's
on my
almost like
shoulder for 1
generational
day.
debt that you're just trying to resolve, and you're gonna have
Absolutely.
to like there are scenarios where I don't completely understand somebody
Mm-hmm.
or what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and yes, it is conflicting.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as it comes, and my mind is like, yeah, I think I resolved this enough where I'm just like at the point of just overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, no, this isn't healthy. This isn't letting me move forward.
Yeah.
And this comes back to the thing where I said, like, don't let anyone or anything take energy away from
Absolutely. It's like just the environment. At the end of the day, like
Mhm.
it's like you don't have to villainize the person because they're just being themselves and going through their own experience.
It's just a little bit of energy that they gave you that it ain't even. That's it.
They might not did on purpose. Like
Mhm.
it's just the environment isn't optimal. It doesn't mean that it's not. It might not be the worst for you, but it's not optimal for you. And just to handle that with grace, to be like, yo, like I love you. You know, this just ain't working out in this kind of way, and like I want us to be optimal. For like that's real love. Like that's real.
Mhm.
Like looking at
That's
your friend
real.
like a homie and
'Cause you
being like, I don't want.
care.
Yeah.
You care. You're
Yeah.
not just like, nope, done. That's it. You know,
Mhm.
you're just like, I care, and if this
I
hurts,
genuinely care.
I
for
gotta
you.
let
Yeah.
you know that this hurts. Let's see what we can do. 'Cause not even that, like, I just gotta communicate this with you so that you understand where I'm at.
Yeah.
Once
Exactly.
and you know, and just letting you know, like, yo, this is where I'm at. This is as far as I'm willing. Like, this is where my bar's at.
Mm-hmm.
I just need you. Like, let's see what we could do to respect that.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
So I as much as I want to continue this conversation, I know Kenny got places to go, and we're gonna wrap it up in here.
I gotta go to the bathroom too.
Okay, so if you're open to it, before we conclude, playing these bowls.
Let's go.
Okay, cool.
What is it? Inform us.
This is throat chakra. So, you know, since you were talking about the connection with expression and also like what you were talking about with throat chakra, also with like a lot of the things that we've been communicating here and now, you know, it's like how I'm viewing it. Us playing these two bowls, we are giving a male who has access to his femininity, and a woman who has access to her masculinity. And we're putting a prayer out there for, you know, the people who need it that may fall into any of these spectrums. You know, your aspect is expression, right?
Oh, yeah,
And-
expression is extremely important.
And my aspect is sacral chakra, which is transformation, you know, creation and destruction, and the support of worthiness. So I just want to put a prayer out there. So before we play these bowls, have you played it before? I think you did, right? At one of the
I've done
meetings?
these guys before. Something
Oh,
like that.
so is me. All right.
Shit, we about to find out.
All right. So
Hey, gangster.
most importantly, the most important thing to do with these bowls is to set an intention and pray over them. They're crystal quartz. They don't know positive or negative. If you approach it with anxiety, it will amplify it. If you approach it with love, it will amplify it. So with that being said, yeah, I want to put the prayer out there for, you know, if you're open to it, I'll pray for the divine feminine. You want to pray for the divine masculine?
Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to put the prayer out there for the divine feminine, for anybody out there, regardless of gender, that's tapping in with your divine femininity, to have the courage to deem yourself worthy to destroy and to create whatever is needed in your life and your reality. You know, to find balance within the fuck you love you, whether that's to yourself or whether that's to a relationship or whether that's to a job or a family member or whatever. To find balance within that, to find peace within that, most of all for yourself, and for you to cultivate that peace from within so that you don't ever have to find your fix within someone else or something else in a good way like that.
For my fellas out there, man, look, listen. You gotta respect yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Provide for yourself so that you can provide for others. And understand you're not perfect and you have no obligation to be. that transparency and your imperfection will allow others to accept you for who you are. And you're going to be able to be who you really need to be for those that you have to be there for. Take care of yourself.
Taking a deep breath in and out, allowing yourself to receive the vibrations. Take what resonates and leave what does not. Closing your eyes if it feels good. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you for taking that moment to receive those vibrations, if that felt resonant for you, and like, you know, being with us on this journey, coming back into your body, wiggling your fingers, moving your hips around, your head, getting yourself firmly placed back in the space. If you need to call yourself back, saying your name 3 times in a good way, carrying that medicine with you, however it feels good to. And thank you so much, Rangel, for coming on to this podcast and sharing your wisdom, being vulnerable, and your experience, and expressing yourself in such a really beautiful way, and being such an incredible representation for, you know, the divine masculine in a good way like that, you know. Happy to know you, be friends with you, and just to witness you and watch you grow and watch you advocate for the people that need advocation for, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And that is a wrap, everyone. I'm going to we'll do another like little live segment on here, but for time purposes, we're gonna get off on the front. So if you want to see the card that's gonna get pulled and also the poem that's gonna get pulled, tap in with Dualitea Podcast and scroll to the very end of the video, and you can tap in with that. So thank you, and I'll see y'all next week.